And I know. Okay.
Okay. So at Boys Ranch, what we did, we started kind of backwards with some of our programs. We started with an extracurricular program where we were just trying to make it fun and engaging for our students to come in and participate in some wildlife and gardening projects. And so we started with things like deer surveys, where our students get to go out in the evenings and we're spotlighting for deer, and they're counting, and they're getting to get that hands-on experience. And our numbers go to the state, so that's a real project with real meaning, and so they can feel good about what they're doing. And we started that way as an extracurricular program, and then only in the last couple of years have we been teaching that as a part of our school. And so that it really changed the way that we looked at these types of programs. So we didn't start with curriculum, we really started with fun. And then once we have that fun part down where they're getting their hands on and they're learning and they're engaged, it's really easy to get to the curriculum and go through the things that we need to do to make sure we're covering the TEKS, because they're interested and they're engaged.
Yay! Now, what are you doing like with the hogs and the quail?
Okay, so we are doing a lot of different projects to get their hands on and see what is like wildlife projects and what would that really be like. So hog control is important in this area. So we have an issue with hogs, and so our students got to build hog cages and go out and actually capture the hogs and see that whole process of us trapping them and even killing them and having to handle that whole problem.
Right.
And they're engaged in that. We also have done some where we are hatching out quail, and then we have a surrogator, and we keep them until they're ready to be released into our environment, with the idea that someday if we have a population up to the point where it's sustainable, then we can maybe have quail hunts on our property. So we want to see this whole process, and we want it to be something that's sustainable, and they get to experience every bit of that.
What are you doing with your engineering students?
Our engineering students, we have a couple of labs where we focus on engineering. We have what we call our rocket lab. In that area, we have students that are learning robotics and rocketry and electronics. And what we really do is we put a kid on a project that's interested in that thing. So if they're interested in drones or they're interested in programming, we'll just put them on that project, and the student becomes the expert. So they're researching their own project that they're interested in, and we have a teacher in there, and they're a resource for that student. But a lot of times the teacher is like telling them, you can get this information, it's out on the internet, you can research it, and then they help that student problem solve. So we're empowering them to be in charge of their own problem, their own project that they're working on, and to figure out where they can find the information they need to solve their problem. So it's a lot of problem solving. No matter what they're doing in there, it's problem solving. And then if we get a student who has excelled in an area, they maybe become the one that helps the next student work on that type of project. So that student becomes a resource for another student. So it's a really neat process that they go through in that engineering program.
Now, how do the greenhouses tie into the actual credit classes?
We have Mr. Nation teaches a couple of wildlife management classes, and so he's doing the beekeeping, or he's taking them in there and talking about propagation of plants, and really right now more of our credit classes for that are focusing on the wildlife stuff and not as much in the greenhouses. Did y'all cover the greenhouses much in the classes?
Yeah, we did a few times a week.
Yeah.
So you guys just go panic because of the camera. And it's crazy that we decided to do this in front of the bees, because I keep having a bee land on me thinking, okay, I'm not going to sacrifice the video and I'll take the bite. Is there anything else that we can think of that you might want to add?
One thing that's been really neat for our students is we're doing 3D design. We just had a student who's been learning the 3D design program who got hired he graduated on Saturday, and he starts his job on Monday morning right afterwards because of the 3D design. And so we're trying to, in all of these, we're trying to get them hands-on skills that is going to help them go immediately into the workforce or go straight into a higher learning program. Either way, we're thrilled with that. We just want to get them real life hands-on skills in any of these programs that we're doing, and that's our focus.
What made you realize that there wasn't any students that could go interested in engineering?
Well, we had a scholarship for our students that a very generous donor had given us for a full ride to engineering school. So we had no students who were taking advantage of this wonderful resource. And so what we realized is that our students didn't even realize that engineering could be for them. And so we had to start not with trying to get them to go to college, but start with them realizing that it's for them in the first place. So we had to get them hands-on, engaged in different programs. And so that might be our rocketry program, but it just as well could be our gardening program that teaches them that they could be an engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have faculty that were resistant because they weren't comfortable with the activity-based approach? Or
Well,
did it
that
happen
wasn't
gradually?
an issue for us because one of the unique things about Boys Ranch is that we are a residential program, and so we have our residential program and then we have our school district. And we function very much interdependently, however they are distinct organizations. And so we started on the residential programming side. So our paradigm was more about extracurricular activities and keeping them engaged, and not as much about the traditional education. And so we started these projects on the school side. I mean on the residential program side, not on the school side. And so that just, it opened different doors, and we didn't come in with the same thinking that maybe a lot of traditional schools have. And so that, I think that just, we weren't tied as much to like tests, and we weren't tied to certain curriculums. We could just go and have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then the school part came. Now most of my staff that work directly for me are teaching classes in the school. We were able to collaborate and in that way with the school district, so that kind of came secondary. And our wonderful school district didn't tie our hands. They said, we love what you're doing, keep doing that, and we're going to figure out a way to make sure that all the teaks and everything is covered so that everything is done the way that it needs to be done. So we just work real collaboratively with the people who know how it really should be done, according to all the standards, to make sure, yes, we're doing everything that needs to be done, but we start from the, how can we make this interesting and how can we make it engaging perspective.
Okay, I made you stand in this